What doesn't work is making something too complicated. What doesn't work is doing something that's beyond where you are and making you feel incompetent. What doesn't work is being told what to do by anyone, being held accountable, having all these external rewards that you're chasing, and also something that disrupts your relationships. That is not going to work. People always want a solution, right? They want to be told what to do, exactly how to do it, exactly what's the plan, what's the strategy, what do I have to do? But the thing is that what to do, it's a lot more unclear than what not to do, right? We know a lot of the things that don't work, right? But we don't know a lot about what does work. When it comes to whatever it is that you end up doing to change your life, to evolve all the things that you do in your life, that your life revolves around, how your life ends up looking is going to be unique and different for everyone. And that needs to be figured out by every individual for them. But there is some clear things that are going to disrupt that. It's a lot more reliable to just really become clear on what's not going to work. That's something we can talk about with certainty, but what's going to work for each individual is going to have to be up to them. There are some guiding principles as opposed to a really specific strategy. These are the step A, B, C, D. Like, there are some guiding principles that we can all see as absolutely correct and are going to lead us in the right direction, right? But principles are very different from instructions. It's always useful as a stepping off point, as a jumping off point, something to learn from, rather than to kind of, adhere to perfectly. That there are going to be principles within the program that you can learn and going to really create the beginnings of your lifestyle transforming and you doing more of that kind of thing. But that's the thing. Any program that you do, you don't want to sort of see it as the Bible that you have to live by. It's something to get insight from, to see what's going to work for you. In saying that, there's this really great model of psychological model that I wanted to share. It's called the self-determination theory. And I think it's got some fantastic principles in there that are going to help guide us. The thing that occurs to me initially when I first learnt this is what's very clear about it is what it tells us doesn't work. This isn't a set of clear instructions, but it's a set of principles of stuff that doesn't work. This self-determination theory has these three basic human needs that we have to feel a sense of well-being and drive in our lives. So it's all based on sort of intrinsic motivation. Because at the end of the day, right, you have to do this, the health project, being healthy and being well and living a good life, living your best life is something that you work on every day for the rest of your life, right? You're always trying to maximize to the best of your ability in each and every day to whatever your capacities are in each day, in each period of your life. So it's a consistent, continual thing that never ends. Because of the fact that it's something we have to continually do all the time, that obviously it requires an internal drive. Like, we have to continually want it. We have to be driven to do all the things we have to do all the time, right? So we're driven to each day and each week and each month and each year and in each stage of our lives to be driven to be getting that extra health, to getting that extra wellness and leanness and when all the things that we might want in, talking specifically about the physical there. But in all areas, we have to be constantly driven to improve our relationships, to improve, all the different parts of our lives. So if we're not internally driven towards those things, we're just not going to do it. You don't do the things you don't want to do, in the end. So drive is a huge part of well-being, and what are we driven to? What are we intrinsically motivated towards? And it's towards meeting our needs. It's meeting these fundamental needs. We were always going to be fulfilled or lacking in fulfillment if these things are not being honored, right? So the first one is autonomy. If someone's life doesn't feel like their own, like they're being controlled, like they're being manipulated by someone or something, and that someone else's priorities are driving their lives, the actions in their lives, then they feel like their spirit is dying in some way. I'm not doing what is important to me. The rewards that I'm going for are controlled by someone else. Just a pawn, a puppet in someone else's game. There's something really important about feeling autonomous. So when I think about health and weight loss and all that, if your life that I'm living, is just a plan created by someone else, It's inherently a little bit lifeless. I'm not connected to it because it's not me. It's not autonomous. It didn't come from me. I didn't choose. This is what I want. This is where I want to do this activity. I want to do this. It's just like, oh, well, I've been told that this is what should be done. I've been told that this is what's best for me. Oh, this is what I should be doing. I don't really want to, but I guess so. Like that, if it is not autonomous, if whatever the plan that you're choosing to involve in, the activities that you're choosing to do for your health project, if it wasn't chosen by you, generated by you, then the drive is not going to be there, right? So whatever you choose to do, make sure that you chose to do it. If it is, and this is coming back to always the fundamental of awareness, right? Be aware of what you're doing. Just ask yourself, am I choosing this? Do I want this? Because it can still be autonomous for you to look at something and say, yeah, I like that. That's awesome. And then you choose to do it based on the fact that you like it. So just doing someone else's program isn't automatically not autonomous, but it has to be chosen by you. And this is where I'm going. This is what I want to do. No one else can be controlling what you do. That's why when some trainers or whatever say, oh, just do what I tell you, and they're kind of pressuring you to do these things. If you're feeling pressure, either for punishment or reward, that's the other insight there, is that if you're being rewarded by something or someone else, it's still the fate of the whole thing is in someone else's hands. So if you're being rewarded externally by someone and something else, that's taking away from your autonomy. We don't want to do it for external trophies, for winning some competition and getting some accolades. That is, in the long term, taking away from your autonomy, right? So it has to just be something you're driven to do all the time because that's what you want, right? So that's the first one. The second need is competence, right? So we have an internal, almost spiritual need for competence. You can imagine how well you would feel in your life if you just felt that you just sucked at everything, right? I'm not good at anything. You don't feel good about yourself, right? So we have a need to feel competent, like at least I can tie my shoelaces. You see kids doing that, saying, oh, I do by myself. I used to say that a lot as a kid. I do by myself, You want to tie your own shoelaces, do your own things. Maybe some kids, just want everything else done for them sometimes. But at some point, you want to try and explore what you can do and get better. That's the other thing. There's a sense of mastery that goes along with competence there. I want to feel competent, and then also that I'm getting more and more competent over time, right? So we have a need to feel competent and capable, as successful human beings. And my kickboxing coach, said to me once, a little bit of simple wisdom. He said, people like doing what they're good at. It's like once you get good at something, and I think you can relate to this if you think about it. Once you get good at something, you like doing it. It fulfills that need of competence. Once you develop a certain skill, it's just fun to use it. Because it's competence. You have that sense of competence. So, right, coming back to the health and weight loss, is that when you're doing something, when you're doing a program and approach that makes you feel incompetent, it makes you feel like it's super complicated, it's got all these things. As soon as you start diving into it, you start talking to a professional, you start talking to your trainer or this or that, and then if they're telling you these things, you're like, oh my God, what is this? Like, so many different things, and nutrition, and these movements are so complicated, and you just feel like an idiot when you're doing it. That is going to drive you away from it. I'm not going to be driven towards this thing that makes me feel incompetent. And this comes back to really a guiding principle throughout, something that I think that people don't talk about enough. And this is that you have to meet yourself where you are, right? When people go from they've done absolutely nothing for years, or have ever done anything, and your health has been a priority that has just been nowhere near them, and then tomorrow I'm going to start doing absolutely anything and everything that should be good, and just pretend to be someone else really for a period of time. You go from having 0 to trying to be at 100, and it's sort of just like, well, it's just a complete mismatch, and you feel incompetent, obviously, because it's not where you are. You don't have those skills, you don't have that knowledge. You're pretending to be someone and something you're not. You're naturally driven away from that. So, right, if you don't know anything, you haven't been anywhere, you have to start at a point that makes sense, that you can feel competent at. If you're trying to learn really complicated movements and you've never done something like that, like exercise movements, just you have to start with something that doesn't make you feel completely stupid, right? So again, what we're talking about is what doesn't work. What doesn't work is feeling incompetent, doing things that are way beyond where you are, that are way beyond your capacities and your knowledge. And it goes to the idea of starting small, and that's been said by a lot of people. But just to nuance that point and really bring it home is to bring it back to this understanding of drive and needs, is that it's not just to start small so that it's easy, which is a part of it, but it starts small because it's just where your competence is, right? You cannot do something you're incompetent at, right? It's going to have to be a little bit beyond where you're at just to challenge you, to get you to, and again, this whole idea of competence and mastery, competence and continuing with increasing competence, that's going to push you that little bit, but it cannot be too far beyond where you are. Otherwise it's a mismatch, you're driven away from it. And then the other thing, right, and there's more we can say on all these things, but that's just to be succinct in some way. The third point, the third need, is relatedness, right? And what that means is relationships, right? And so thinking about what disrupts weight loss and health, what disrupts those efforts, right? When you think about it, okay, eating is emotional and it has a lot of patterns to do with other people. Meaning that we sit down and we eat with our family. We go out to eat with friends. That is really probably one of the biggest things that disrupts people. They might be doing really, really well in their own time by themselves. But then the thing that gets them, say you go out to a family dinner, you go out on the weekend with some friends, and then it's just like, well, I don't want to be that weird one ordering a salad and everyone else is all bringing my own food or something. It's disrupting the relationship. People are asking you, that's weird. So if you drink alcohol and then people are like, oh, what are you doing? Like, it's just disrupting my relationships. It's disrupting the way that I normally interact. And then obviously there's more going on there with, say, for example, you go to grandmother's house and then that's how you get love, by saying, oh, thanks for the cookies. And and you eat it up and you say, wow, that was wonderful. And she gets a sense of love from that. You get a sense of connection from that too. You're going to go in there and say, no, I only eat lettuce now. Or something, it's going to disrupt the connection that I get with other people. And again, like say, if you sit down, you eat for dinner with your family and they're all eating all this food and connecting in that way, and you're here eating something completely different, it's such a jarring experience when with other people. It disconnects you from other people. So again, I'm not telling you that this is, you have to align yourself with everyone and you have to do X, Y, Z in response to these things, but it's really powerful to just be aware of the ways. And I'm sure you can see this in your own life. If you think about these elements of autonomy, competence, and relatedness, how you've been disrupted in your weight loss efforts or in your health efforts, is that how much is it disrupting my relatedness? And then you might recognize for yourself, okay, well, I have a toxic relationship with my family and food, or with, everyone's encouraged. There are a lot of circumstances like that where people are, maybe you're feeling pressured to eat, because, oh, what are you doing? And that's going to disrupt the way you do things. And that's up to you to decide. You're fully autonomous and you can decide what you want to do. And you have to decide what you want to do if you want to be constantly driven and engaged in what you're doing and it making you feel more wellness. But yeah, it's up to you to decide what to do, who to do it with, how it disrupts you, and what relationships you're going to either let be disrupted or manage in a particular way. But I think it's very powerful to understand these are the needs, and these are ways in which you get disrupted, and then it's up to you to decide what lifestyle changes are the most relevant to make sure that it works for you. And then no one can tell you that. You must autonomously make that plan and roll that out in your own life. Like this isn't a set of instructions. This is just a set of principles. This is a set of principles that give a lot of insight into what doesn't work. What doesn't work is making something too complicated. What doesn't work is doing something that's beyond where you are and making you feel incompetent. What doesn't work is being told what to do by anyone, being held accountable, having all these external rewards that you're chasing, right? That reduce autonomy, and also something that disrupts your relationships. That is not going to work if it disrupts your autonomy, your relationships, or your feeling of competence. Whatever it is, when you start looking at it and approaching it, if it disrupts them, it will not work. That's simple. I'm not going to tell you what will work, but I can definitely tell you what won't work, right? Because that's up to you to decide, because you're an autonomous human being. Subscribe, like the video, do whatever you want to do, right? It's up to you. Make sure you come back next week because, again, you won't get insights like this anywhere else. So I'm here every week with new insights on how to improve your health, your life, your weight, information and insight you will not get anywhere. So subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you next week.